You see that amazing smile?
Back home in Michigan, and it tastes like Jack when I'm kissing him.
How you doing, all? Welcome home. It is SuperMex Nation, the voice of Mexican America, and you know what night it is. It is a Friday, and I am asking a lot of you. Okay, so some of you guys, you know you're on the East Coast, you're at Central Pacific or Central Mountain Time, so you're later in the evening, but it is a Friday night, and it is Fun Friday, and it is cheap date night. I'm extremely cheap because I cost you absolutely nothing other than your time. And let's not diminish the time, obviously, but not a monetary value. I like being cheap for the regular man, the regular woman out there in America, because times are rough. Rich keep getting richer, poor get poorer. I think you guys all know where I end up. I'm on that other end. Even if I ended up being a billionaire someday, I'd still think like a poor person. Call me what you want. Have fun with that if you'd like, but that's the way it is in SuperMex Nation. So just real quick, Swainbo, not with me tonight, Education Rambo. He is out of town for this weekend because his daughter, he's got a daughter, marrying age, and she is getting married this weekend. So all the best to my homeboy Swainbo. Want to make sure safe travels to the brother. Got nothing but love for him and his family, good people. So he'll be back next week, and we'll begin wrapping up our 3, almost 4 or 5-part series on our dream utopian high school. And if I had the ability to just snap my fingers and flick a switch, what would my high school look like? And I'm not talking about just the obvious, meaning, oh, would it look cool, like cool architecture and design? No, I'm talking about the meat and potatoes of what a good quality high school is. Size of population, how many instructional minutes that you allocate to each period of class, which classes would be offered, what kind of instructors would you have, etc. We're talking about meat and potatoes of what it is to have a quality education in America in a K through 12 compulsory education system. So we're almost wrap up with that. And so just to shade out to some of my friends here, like, I do know it's not easy. I mean, it's tough. We're dealing with serious material here, guys. But for those of you that stay and you listen through, I spoke with my mom yesterday. And if she's watching tonight, none but love for you, lady. But she did remind me and told me to stay who I am, and remind myself that what I am doing is good for people. I can do this differently. I can make it more entertainment than it is substance. But there's the haggle, yes? And I'll digress for a split second before we begin our Fun Friday, because it is difficult for me not to talk about meat and potatoes, right? Entertainment is easy, ladies and gentlemen. Any fool can entertain you, provided they do something stupid enough, funny enough, or whatever. That's not me. I grew up in this country believing that if you worked hard enough, if you learned, if you disciplined yourself, and you did all the things correctly, meaning with patience and with perseverance and a good quality mind in good quality English, that anything's possible in this world. You know what? I still believe that. I still believe that. But I will say, it definitely hurts right here that our society moves further and further away from good quality content and good quality attention span requiring material. See how I did that? Everything wants to be done, and I understand the rationale behind it. Everything wants to be done in quick sound bites and getting your attention and keeping your attention. If more of us had the ability to maintain an attention span and listen to good quality content and get to the meat of objects, then we wouldn't be in half the state that we're in right now. And I think you understand what I'm getting at. We don't value great material, great content, great intellectual material. And because of that, you quite literally get what you pay for. So the structure of most programs, including stuff like this, television, talk radio, etc., is broken up in bite-sized morsels so you can get it. And again, I understand that rationale. But there are some things that need a serious treatment. For instance, we did the piece on market capitalism a while ago. We did the piece the other night on trafficking, human trafficking and sex slavery. These are not one-line items, but they are serious items that are going on current in this country and across the world. And if all you did was focus on the shiny object, then you quite literally lose the forest for the trees. So if I have to, I will maintain my position in that overwhelming tsunami of a wave, and I'll stand right there and take the battering, because I believe in it that much, that it is important that we build and continue to educate well beyond K through 12 and college education. I'm talking about you, SuperMex Nation. Let's educate. If not from me directly, then from yourself. Some of you have directly messaged me and told me that you are finding yourself reading more. I had one young lady tell me that once in a while she'll go back and grab a dictionary, Google a word. If I say something and if I don't define it or spell it out, she'll go and look for the meaning. Ladies and gentlemen, that's somebody trying to better their intellect. And that's a damn good thing. No dumbing down here. Be 100% clear about that. So, having said that, this is a little bit more of a night of entertainment. As I've stated, we are not going to be talking about education tonight because Swainbo's out, and I want to conclude my series with him when he comes back in a week or two, next week, and then we'll finish up in a week or two. And then that way, I'll put all that material together, and there's the other concept I didn't talk to you guys about. So, everything that I'm doing on air now becomes intellectual material going forward. This is verbal, yes, but it can very easily be written. And what does that mean? Now it's going to take the form of short essays, quick op-eds, and yes, eventually, and probably sooner than later, another book, or a book. I say another because I'm thinking of multiple, but a book or short books that provide the heavy meat and potatoes of what I'm talking about in written form to flesh them out even further, coupled with and to go with, synthesized and synced with the online material through YouTube and Facebook. That's what we're doing. We're giving you something that's going to sustain and be more than just some guy popping off on air, all right? I'm really, really excited about that because that's what's coming, and that's what I've been doing, and that's what you've been here with me for. Okay, so cheap date night, Fun Friday. Again, the date is even a little cheaper because we don't even have Swainbo tonight. Swainbo's not with me, but I am, and I'm entirely free. I'm a cheap date, and it is Fun Friday. So I devoted a good number of hours today going over material for tonight that quite literally has to do with, and if you got the short 3 to 5 minute spiel that I did a little bit earlier today that I put out on the Facebook channel, SuperMex Nation, SuperMex International, I told you that tonight was going to be about movies, music, and the Mex, from the mind of Mex, all right? So movies and music, It ended up leaning a little more heavy on the movies side because I went kind of haywire with it, and it ended up being more than just movies. But so let's talk about filming, television, streaming, etc. So that's what tonight will be mostly about, and then we'll flesh out the back end of the night, maybe the last half or so or quarter, with music, current, and music that I'm going to give you and tag that track, see if you guys can pick them up. But I went, and I'll explain that a little bit later once we get to the back end of the show. There's a little bit of front loading for you. But so it's about movies, and it's about the screen, big screen and small screen tonight. So here's what I've got. This is what Mex is doing. This is what Mex is listening to or going to be watching. So absolutely, without a doubt, you'd have to be living under a rock in an alternate reality, alternate universe, to not know that this is the weekend for Avengers and the Endgame to the series. So I think there's 4. So the last year's was Avengers Infinity War, which I did watch, and Avengers Endgame. So full disclosure, I'm a little bit of a comic nerd, whatever the hell it is you want to call me. I am that. I grew up with comics in an era that, we didn't have online, we didn't have all the other, but I read a lot of comics and I read a lot of superheroes, and I think I've said the whole SuperMex thing was because I wanted to be the Mexican version of Superman. The dude with the big cape, big red cape, flying around doing good stuff for good people and fighting the bad guys. That's what I wanted to be growing up, and I always thought that one day I'd wake up and, maybe through mutation or some accident, that's the way it works in comics, right? Through some mutation or some accident of fate or science, next thing you know, you've got these crazy powers. And I do actually have, in total, a SuperMex character planned out, visualized out. I'm going to have a friend of mine who is a comic book artist render the entire image of what SuperMex is in visual. And then, somewhere down the road, I'll probably give you a little bit of what SuperMex's powers are. And they're pretty hefty. They're pretty good. I mean, you're going to like them. So that is my rationale. That was my input. I was a little dude, wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, but I had a good mind. And I worked hard, and I persevered, and I dealt with some ugly things in a really tough period in my early life. Got through it, got stronger, and then I wanted to be more. And there you go. You become a superhero, right? There you go. So the big one, Avengers Endgame. So here's the hard numbers for you, ladies and gentlemen. So today is Friday night. All right, fun Friday with us. So this is the behemoth, the monstrosity, the alpha and the omega Endgame. There you go. Numbers for this particular movie. 60 million taken in on Thursday night, 60 million bucks on Thursday night, yesterday. There has been $300 million worldwide over the 2 days, 154 million in China alone. Half of that take is China. There's more people in China, by the way. I think there's over 1 billion people in China, probably closer to 2 billion now. But 154 million bucks taken in China, 300 million total over just the 2 days. All right? So they're looking for a domestic total, that means United States only, domestic total of 300 million once the weekend completes by Monday. That's a hefty amount. That would break the record. I think the previous was 280. So if they get to 300 million over the weekend, they break box office records. I think that's likely to happen, but they really want to get that hard number of 300, right? 297 just doesn't sound quite as bit. You do that. All right, 300 million is what the target is. That's domestic. And then they're looking for a total of $1 billion. I'll say that again, $1 billion globally, worldwide by Monday. And that's staggering. That is absolutely staggering. I mean, you think about this like 1 billion, you said 1 billion. I did say 1 billion. That's what they're trying to target because now it is a global output, right? So if you've got 154 million in China alone off of just a night or two, it is feasible. I mean, it is not impractical because now you have a lot of people going through the weekend. Our numbers will increase. If we can get 300 million in the States alone, China does something like that with their large number, and then you go all over the globe and people go watch because it is in theaters quite literally all over the globe. You're looking at a possibility. I don't know if they'll get to 1 billion, but that is a damn staggering number. That is a lot of money for one weekend. Crazy, huh? Absolutely. Okay, so that's the target. Those are the hard numbers for Avengers Endgame out. And so what I was saying earlier tonight on my 3 to 5 minute quickie on Facebook and the SuperMex Nation group, I said that I thought that by the time I get out of here tonight, which is going to be roughly a little after 8 o'clock, I said, well, maybe I could actually attempt to not be bad at love like Halsey says, and maybe get over to watch the movie tonight, because I kind of want to be part of this intake, right, on a Friday night. And my wife reminded me that we've got, so yesterday was league championship swim finals for my daughter, and then that was Thursday. Then tomorrow, all day, is the track, TRAC, Tri-River Athletic Conference, league championships for swim. And she's got 3 events. She's swimming in the final for the 500 meters, and then she has 2 relay events that she's going to be a part of. So, and then I've got a wrestling tournament that I got to try to get to, because I'm coaching 2 young dudes now that I asked for some help and trying to get them on their state podium next year. So I don't know. We'll see if I can maybe swing it by. So my point is, it's not going to happen tonight. Cheap date night is going to remain cheap. I'm going to go home and try to get some sleep, and then we'll have a long day with my daughter tomorrow at her swim meet. And then maybe, if we get enough sleep, we'll have enough gas in the tank to, figuratively, gas in the tank to go watch Avengers Endgame. So one way or the other, I am definitely watching that movie this weekend. Want to add to that total, right? All right, so that's whether you're inclined to or not. I mean, some of you guys are not so into, comics and superhero stuff. I get it. That's cool. But I would say that even if you're not, I mean, there is rationale and there is thought here. We do have things like you're looking at, there is storyline. This thing's a 3-hour behemoth, right? It's 3 hours in total. So you better wake up, make sure you're juiced up before you head in. And it's going to take up a lot of time. So make sure you allocate enough if you're planning on going to see it. So that's this weekend. That's Avengers Endgame, $300 million. So this is what else I've got going on, SuperMex Nation. So there was a movie that came out a while ago, about a decade and a half ago, decade and a half. It was called Unbreakable. If you know what I'm talking about, I just clued you in, I keyed you in, right? There's your upfront conversation piece to remind yourself of something. It was Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. It's called Unbreakable. It came out a while ago. It was about a decade and a half. I don't have the exact time in here, but it was a decade and a half ago. And a year ago, a movie came out called Split. And it was about multiple personality disorder, if you want to call it that. And James McAvoy was the lead character, and he played an individual that had multiple personalities. So here's the trick. They tied that to Unbreakable with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Long story short, that ended up being a not-so-subtle, if subtle, sequel. And this year, we had Glass. Glass was the third in what would seem like not to have been a sequel and an initial movie and then multiple sequels, but that's what you have. So this movie, Glass, is James McAvoy from Split. It is Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson from the original Unbreakable. So you got over a decade and a half of time here, but it's working out real well. So I was watching that today before I headed over here, so I'm probably going to go home and finish watching that. Point being is it's a hell of a sequence, a trilogy in effect, because there are 3 movies. So those are my recommendations for you, because it has to do with superheroes, multiple personality disorders. There's a lot on the cognitive side in terms of science and medicine that you might want to be interested in. And I don't know about you, but I'm a fan of Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. I remember when Bruce Willis was David Addison in Moonlighting with Sybil Shepherd. Loved that show, man. He was the funniest guy you'd ever imagine. So Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson are worth the price of admission alone. You add James McAvoy, who's one of the most talented young actors of his generation, and it's a hell of a grouping. Okay, so those are 3 movies. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Anya Taylor-Joy, she's the young lady in the flick. She was in Split, and she's in this one. Watch her. She's doing things. I've seen her in more than a few flicks. Didn't even know who she was until recently. I went back and saw some of these movies, and I'm like, whoa, this little girl's legit. She's a hell of an actress, and I think she's only going to get better. And her roles and their prominence is only going to increase over the next amount of years as she rises to prominence. So that is Unbreakable, Split from last year, and currently just released is Glass. Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, and James McAvoy. 3 A-list stars with Anya Taylor-Joy, who's going to be A-list, if not already. A hell of a sequence of movies, a hell of a trilogy. I recommend it highly. It's a damn good flick. Flicks 3. Okay, so those are the ones I've got on. And this is what I have left over. The Mule, I still haven't seen it. I did watch The Old Man and the Gun with Robert Redford. I've got to watch The Mule. And I went to Redbox, like some of you do, because if you're old, you don't go to the movies a lot. You go to the supermarket, you buy your groceries. I'm going to check out the movies at Redbox because I'm too old to go to the theater. That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. And then it's a cost thing too, right? $1.99 as opposed to $30,000 at the movie theater. So check out Redbox, and this is what I've got. These are the ones I'm definitely going to watch. I'm going to watch Bumblebee because I'm an old Transformers guy, and it looks good. I need to watch The Green Book with Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala. I can't remember his last name, but that one's a good one. It was nominated for an Academy Award on a variety of fronts. I've also got, I've got to watch that one, Crimes of Grindelwald. My kids got me hooked on that stuff with the Harry Potter stuff. It's not that I'm hooked, but I'm going to say this again. I'm an old geek in that way. I do love CGI, and I do love the capabilities now technologically that you have with film. Incredible things you can do that you could not do before. So I will check that one out. Love the special effects and CGI. So Crimes of Grindelwald, I'll check that out. There's a movie called Replicas I just saw recently. And why? Keanu Reeves is in it. That's my dog right there. I love that dude. I mean, anything that he's in, I'll watch. I've watched him in everything he's been in since he first came up. Yes, including Bill and Ted's Excellent and Most Bogus: A Journey. That was a good one. I watched both of those. And they're supposed to be making another one, by the way. They're actually going to do that. They're going to get the little blonde dude, and they're actually thinking about a third Bill and Ted movie. So I will watch that movie. It's called Replicas. Keanu Reeves, other than what everybody knows, like from Matrix, right? He did Johnny Mnemonic. Lately, it's all about John Wick, which is pretty damn good anyway. But a lot of people don't understand. He has been in some really damn good sci-fi flicks that have gone under the radar. And they're just really good, not just in terms of the cutting-edge technology and the ability of what they're putting out, but because they're way ahead of the curve in where we're going in terms of AI, virtual reality, and I can list a whole bunch of others that we need to be paying attention to because it is right around the corner for us, ladies and gentlemen, on a societal front in terms of the tech that we will have access to and be a part of going forward in the near future. If you're not a part of that, it's probably because you're too damn old and you don't want to pay attention. That's why I'm here, to kind of bring this to you so you never get that old. I don't give a damn if you're 90. If you're watching SuperMex Nation, you will learn something new, including about tech, CGI, virtual reality, alternate reality, all of the above, right? So Replicas with Keanu Reeves. I will go back and watch again Spider-Man into the Multiverse because it was pretty damn good. One of the best cartoons I've watched in a long time, animated. And I've got left over, I got to watch Vice. That was Christian Bale. He was nominated playing Dick Cheney. And then On the Basis of Sex. This is for the chicks, my lady friends out there in the world. I watched that with my wife. On the Basis of Sex. It's about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It is an adequate portrayal, if not a depiction and portrait of the times in which she lived in and the obstacles she had to overcome being a female in a predominantly male-dominated world, which was the law field, the legal world, right? It's a good look. And some of them, you're just going to laugh about some of the things she says because those things wouldn't fly today, ladies and gentlemen, specifically gentlemen. Some of the things they said back then would definitely not fly today because women will just quite literally not happen. And because this is SuperMex Nation, all my carnales and homies out there, I got Ms. Bala. I just saw it. I'm going to take a look at it. It's about the gal in Mexico. And then, of course, because we can't have adequate portrayals of Mexicans without drug cartels and negative, right? One of these days, we're going to get there, right? One of these days, we'll get there. So as of right now, I'm going to check that one out, Miss Bala. And I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, but I think some of you guys know I never really do tongue-in-cheek that well because secretly, there's always a kernel of truth in some of the things that I say. I do believe that we will get to an adequate representation of the Mexican-American experience in America, if not globally, not just Mexico. But listen, I'm going to break it down for you for all my SuperMex Nation listeners on the other side of the continent. in New York, my lady Barbara, Joe, if you're listening in Illinois, and the rest of you guys that are not Mexican-American from where I'm at. I hate to break it to you. Here's my tongue in cheek, right? What did I tell you? Be careful what I say. You gotta read between the lines and get the nuance. We're not all rapists, murderers, and thieves. We're not all in drug cartels. Some of us have an intellect above genius. Some of us have some degrees. Some of us have served country and done other good things. And some of us actually live a life just raising good kids, involved in community with no negative intent. Oh, there you go. There's some gaslighting for you. Do with it what you will. Have some fun with that. Okay, so Ms. M-I-S-S, Ms. Bala. For those of you guys out there in the Mexican-American world, and for those of you guys that watch SuperMex Nation, because I honorarily make you Mexican with me tonight. There you go. And going forward if you're watching the show. So here's what I got on the other end. We're moving hard here. So those are all big screen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm giving you a lot, okay? I'm going to load it up here. That's all big screen stuff. That's what I'm paying attention to. That's what I'm watching. That's what I'm going to be doing over this next week or two. It's quite a bit. There's going to be even more. Netflix. If you don't have it yet, here's the thing. Netflix is basically supplanting a lot of avenues to take in and watch on the small screen. It really is. There is Hulu. I have Hulu as well. They're not super expensive. They're doable, and they're definitely a hell of a lot cheaper than paying for a massive package on a traditional cable or satellite package, because you can pay easily $100, $200 in a heartbeat. I can get Hulu and Netflix and keep my costs down and still get a lot of the original content that I would have gotten those others anyway, other than premium channels. We'll get to that in a second. So I'm giving you some advice, ladies and gentlemen. I think Netflix is worth the cost of the monthly. I do believe that Hulu is worth the cost of the monthly. And because I do have Amazon Prime, there is a lot of original content on Prime. So now you have all these other avenues and other facets that I do believe are making the entertainment world better, if not more competitive. How many of you, raise your hand, I can't see you in your home right now, in your living room, but how many of you remember when there was just ABC, CBS, and NBC? I remember that. Old enough, yes? And then they added Fox, and we're like, ooh, the world's changing. We've got a fourth channel. Now there's 400 gazillion. And it's not all just a simple channel. It streams, it's online. You have a variety of different outlets for your entertainment dollar. So I am definitely recommending to you Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. Yeah, Jeff Bezos doesn't have enough money. Please, he needs more members, please. That's my joke for the night. Come on, guys. I'm not a comedian, but damn, I try. All right, Jeff Bezos needs more money. Please subscribe. So I've got on Netflix. This is what I'm watching right now. And you guys know I'm kind of a goon about this stuff because I'm an old history teacher. So right now I am watching the Roman Empire. It is a third season they just released. I've watched already Julius Caesar, which was good, very adequate. The depiction of Commodus in the second season was very good. I haven't seen this one yet, but I'm going to start it and probably finish it this weekend. Caligula. 3 seasons of the Roman Empire. For all my former students out there, you guys know who you are. Parlier, Madeira, and other places. You ask what old coach Mr. Martinez is doing, this is what I'm doing. Get into these. They're adequate depictions, they're adequate renderings, and they're very good historically from a factual perspective. So that's what I'm watching. The Roman Empire just finished up Versailles, and if I were getting into all this other, I would say it was a sumptuous, if not ostentatious look at what Louis XIV and his Palace of Versailles and the entire culture and the atmosphere to that particular time period of the Sun King. It is a very good look. It only did 3 seasons. The word was that the costs were extremely enormous. Costuming alone was through the roof, but it is a damn good look. I didn't like the way it finished because it didn't go too far, but it was adequate and very good. So I did just finish Versailles. There's 3 seasons there. You can knock those out in a weekend, maybe. And then the one right prior to that, those are my 3 series on historical perspective for those of you guys that want to learn a little bit more about good history. The Medici. 2 seasons of the Medici. One, Masters of Florence, and the second one that was just released recently. 2 very good looks at really the family that brought to us what banking as an industry was. There's your history lesson for the day. Okay, and an adequate look at a family that was quite literally enmeshed in all the subtle nuances of the European hierarchy throughout and I'm talking about multiple areas. Their family was everywhere, including through marriage and through money lending. So the Medici, really good look, only 2 seasons. So those 3. All right, and then so this is my last comment on Netflix. For some of you guys out there that you're my age or older, watch this. You want to know what I watch the Netflix for too? Every once in a while, I'll just plop myself down. You know what I'll do? I'll kick on Star Trek or Twilight Zone, and I'll watch them till I pass out. I've watched the Twilight Zone more times than I care to count, more times than I care to admit, and the same for Star Trek. And I've got a buddy that used to tell me all the time, everything you need to know about life, I learned from the Twilight Zone. And then he's got another one that says, from everything to know about life, I learned from Star Trek. It's just old school stuff, man, but it's still so relevant and so good today. If anything, get below the surface. There's some good life lesson stuff, some good ethical conduct stuff that you'll get out of you. The Twilight Zone in particular, it does attempt in each 30-second bit, other than, I think, the 4th or 5th season that was the 1-hour format. But each of those attempts to give you some moral, if not ethical imperative as to how to conduct yourself based on what happened in that lesson for the 30 seconds. And I love it. So I can literally watch Twilight Zone all day, all the time. And on Netflix, it is free. You can watch it whenever the hell you want. That's Star Trek and Netflix. Star Trek and Twilight Zone on Netflix. Those are staples for me. I always watch them if I'm not watching something in particular. So last thing on the small screen here, premium channels. There's really only one that I've got. Well, I take that back. We did upgrade a phone thing. I'm giving you life, right? My wife upgraded phone, and we got HBO like in perpetuity forever. And it's because I've got to watch Game of Thrones. I've read all the books. Reminder, if not spoiler, that the final 2 books have not been written by George R.R. Martin. So what you get in HBO in this final season could or could not be what Martin originally intended. I'm interested to see where that goes. Okay, so the final 2 books have not been written. So this series will finish and come to conclusion before he concludes those books. There's the interest. If you're a goon like me and you're paying attention and you read the books and you want to see where it goes, there's multiple possibilities in terms of how he ends it, how they end it, how HBO ends it. They have that right. But I am intrigued to see, in which direction they choose to. But I do know this. Ladies and gentlemen, put it on record. There's absolutely no question that as soon as this is done, meaning Game of Thrones, the series, in this final season, HBO and George R.R. Martin have full license to blow this thing up and off the roof. It's going to go crazy. There'll be a lot of original instances of past history in Westeros and in the Game of Thrones world that make it as movies and as independent series, either on HBO or some other format. So that's all there, by the way. That's all there. All right, so that's Game of Thrones. And the other one I'm watching, it's kind of below the surface, is American Gods. We did get Stars because my wife's hooked on that damn Outlander. It's a good series. But we got Stars, and I'm watching American Gods right now. It's a different look at what a pantheon of gods would be. Whew, there's a lot. All right. Here's my recommendation. Not just what I'm watching, but here's a recommendation for the ladies. If you get an opportunity, it is on Stars. I think you can get it on Prime if you have it, but on Stars, watch The White Queen. I think there were about 6 episodes. It came out a number of years ago. And then it was subsequently followed up by The White Princess. It has to do with the War of the Roses, and it deals from the perspective of the Queen and her daughter, the White Princess, and how they viewed these Wars of the Roses that led ultimately to Henry Tudor claiming the English crown and then moving forward as the Tudor dynasty. It's pretty good. I really dig on it. And I'm going to say that women, you will like this depiction because it's from the perspective of strong female characters. Ladies, you should be liking that. And I'm recommending it to you, by the way. Here's why. Not because I'm a female or a woman, but because it's historically pretty damn good. Factually, it's right on point. All right. So it's very, very accurate on a historical perspective. And I got to tell you, it's a good look. They do battles. There are a little more love scenes, and some of you ladies might like that. I kind of like it too because the women are hot, right? There you go. There's your digression for the night. But so that's The White Queen and The White Princess. You got to watch The White Queen first, then The White Princess. That is on Stars. Whew. All right, I've got 25 minutes here. Okay, so that's all small screen and big screen. You got it. Those are my recommendations. That's what I'm doing right now, what I'm asking you to go take a look at. So this is music, I think yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? And I know it because I heard this loud, piercing scream coming from the other room. What the hell was that? It was my daughter, because Taylor Swift just released her single. It was that loud. It was, ah! And the next thing, what the hell went on there? So anyway, so it was a loud, piercing scream. I actually got up. I'm like, what the hell was that? My daughter comes running in. Taylor just released her. I was like, oh my God. So, okay, so officially she's released a single, and that's in anticipation and preparation for the album that's coming. Why am I bringing this up? Okay, it's not like I'm going to give you every single song I'm listening to right now, but I'm going to point something out that I did a few weeks ago maybe. So Taylor Swift releasing this. She is in command of how she releases her content and her material, right? And especially ladies, I think that's the point that I had mentioned to you. I'm giving a lot of love to ladies tonight because it's warranted and adequate. In addition to her, Beyonce just signed a deal with the aforementioned Netflix. See how that works? Nothing I do is without purpose, ladies and gentlemen. You really need to go back and watch some of these sometimes. You'll get a lot after the watch. That's if you can last an hour of meat and potatoes with no breaks. Yeah. You actually have to use the nugget here. Can't get too bored. My dad used to tell me all the time, Cyrus, get me home. A bored man is the sound of a weak mind. That was his line, and I absolutely believe him. So Taylor Swift, new single out, album to follow, right? Now check this out. Beyonce just signed a deal with Netflix for $60 million. Yes, one time, $60 million contract. And it's for original content because she just released, I think what it was is something of a documentary / drama on her latest tour. And they basically followed her and she released it directly to Netflix, streamed straight to it. That's smart. These ladies are controlling their own content, their own material. They're not being told or dictated to by a music industry that is largely being left in the dust. There's some original thought for you, if not out into the entertainment world. So $60 million, one contract. And now she has original contract and direct dealing with Netflix. In addition to that, and I'll go back because my girl, Katy Perry, did, I think, 25 to 30 million to be on American Idol. This isn't even music, ladies and gentlemen. It's ubiquity, UBIQUI2I. Okay, this is just being everywhere, being omnipresent. Entertainment is not this one solution, solve all. Oh, I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be a actor. I'm going to be an artist. It's gone beyond that. You're an industry now. If you get to that level, by the way, you can become an industry unto yourself. That's what these particular ladies, and there are a few others, by the way, okay, that are on that level. But these three in particular, and they occupy different subgenres. Taylor Swift originally came from, and now is more pop, obviously, but she originally came from the country subgenre. Beyonce would definitely be more on the soul pop side, and Katy Perry is pop rock, however you want to term it. They're different. They write different music. They attract a different audience, but they are each in and of themselves commanding massive audiences and massive paydays. I think that's incredible that they're making that kind of money. So I got to be careful how I do this here, but at least at the top, women getting paid, at least at the top. Now, I'm not saying that for the rest because I think we do know that in the workforce, the average female does not get paid the same dollar that the man does. And then when you break it down by subgroup in terms of ethnicity, it gets even more depleted. So draw focus to both, right? But at the very least, at the very top, women are definitely getting paid. And I think this is only the beginning. This is only a sign of what is coming. Watch this. I'm hoping my girl Halsey makes it to that August grouping. That's my girl right there. All right, so that is movies, that is television, and that is music for you. Current, that is pop culture. Those are things that are ongoing and right in the middle of right now and what you're dealing with. So if you're a little older than me and you quite adequately and literally are stuck in a time warp like sometimes I am, I will not lie, there are times when I can sit down and listen to Led Zeppelin for like a day without anything else. And the same with some of the other in different genres throughout. because I love those musics, right? Those genres. But it doesn't hurt to experiment and try new things. And so I will thank you guys there, because we're going to get to tag that track, and we'll wrap up and get it under 1 hour. Woo, working hard. Okay, so I will point out that on this particular show, we do get a cross-section. I have all different types of ethnicities. I have all different types of ages and groups. I have all different types of geographies throughout the country. I guess the one thing that I don't have a massive diversity in is finance. I don't have a lot of billionaires listening to my show. What the hell's up with that? They must know it already. They must have it already. I have mostly working class people and below, working class and below. And I'll just say it on air and loud and proud. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. My education goes to you. The others think they got it all already. They don't need me. I'm okay with that. I need you when they get something else, right? All right, so here we go. So we are going to do, and I'm going to keep it under because I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these. But so we're going to do Tag That Track. And so what I've got for you guys tonight is a selection of a particular subset genre that is now like omnipresent, and it's mainstream. It became mainstream at some point. But this is how I got started as a young buck. This is what I listened to, and this is what I was initially exposed and had an opportunity to listen to some things when they first started that are still quite literally with us. So when I hear the young guys talking about this guy, that girl, that girl, I'm like, oh, you don't even know where that came from. You know, that's what you want to do when you're an old person. You want to tell a younger person, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you weren't there when it started, right? That's what old folks do. All right, so this is what I've got for you. I've got a selection of 10 songs, and they all come from a time in my life where I was exposed to this new subgenre, a new type of music. Now, Barbara Danko, lady, you know I got big love for you. You're a SuperMex super fan. I'm gonna get to your ears tonight, and I know what you're gonna say. I'm talking right to you, as if I were right in your room with you right now. You will not know these songs. They're not your cup of tea, and you're like, oh. But have I ever steered you wrong before? I've never led you down a road that was bad or not good for you. Lyric. It's also lyric. It's not just this and that to the ears, right? It's also the quality and the content of the lyric. It's quite literally what separates the average artist from the quality artist. When they put that lyric out and cuts across all boundaries and lines, and it reaches to all of you, middle America, white America, brown America, every America, that's when you know you got a damn good lyric. And it doesn't matter just the sound. What matters is the message that sound is trying to get across. Okay? And I'll be the first to admit, there are times when like there's some songs like, ugh, you're like, okay, it's a little too much for me. But then I went back and I read the lyric and I was like, wow, okay. I can be a little more forgiving and a little more listening. So this is what I've got for you. Pull these up now. Take me a little bit of time. There we go. There's the first one. Artist. Well known. They're in the Hall of Fame. See if it gets too loud.
I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right. On top of tricky. Here we go. To rock around. That's right. On time is tricky. It's tricky. To rock around. That's right. On time is tricky.
Okay, that's too easy for those of you guys that do know because you got the title immediately, right? See if you get the group, though. You should get the group. If you know anything about this genre, I think you know where it's going to go, right? You should get that. That one was really big at the time. Most people know for the other that came out with Aerosmith. I'm giving you too much. But that one right there, that's what was playing when I went to parties and hung out with friends. That's what was playing. That's what you were dancing to. These are all good dance songs, by the way. Okay, so there's one. Let's get this other. Still having issues with this playlist situation. No. Artist. So Barbara. Listen to the lyrics. He's like, no. All right, here we go. What you doing over there, KP? What you doing over there? It's another one, easy. All right, that's, if you listen to the lyric on that one's applicable today. You can always ask about your friends. Who's really your friend, right? Yeah. All right. These are all different artists, by the way. Not all the same artists. They're entirely different, but same genre, same subset. All right. Let's do this. Here's another one. This guy, when he came out, I mean, was immediately hailed as the best. And he was that good. Then he went and did other things. I'm still wondering about that. All right, let's get that. This one, when it came out, this song in particular, is like it kind of dropped, you know, before there was dropping the mic, this guy dropped the mic on this one. Like, this is who I am. That one's hard. That's for you guys. Barbara, I'm still speaking to you, lady. I'm going to have to create your own playlist. Separate playlist. All right. That's 3. So I'll give you a sub. This first initial 4, they were all at one concert in Fresno, California. It was the first concert I ever went to because I was a poor sucker and I couldn't afford it. But my Tia Annie, nothing but love for you, lady, paid for me to go, and I went with her, and it was the first concert I ever went to in my life. This first set, this first 4 or 5, are all from this one concert. And those of you guys have any knowledge of any of these artists, you're sitting there like, wow, that was all the same concert? And I say, yes, it was. All right, here's the next one. Where are you? Yeah, there we go. Became a... If you were a student in high school at any time when this came out, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you didn't want to go to school at all. All right. Watch this.
Yet our best trained, best educated, best equipped, best prepared troops refuse to fight. Matter of fact, it's safe to say that they would rather switch than fight.
That little mug's still around too. Yeah, boy. All right. That one's kind of obvious too. All right, that one's an easy one. Should be anyway. All right, here we go. Here's another one. Wait, where was that at? This is a good party song. Drop this. Kick time. Did it even? Thing. Get the body. We don't ill, we chill at a party, people. Three-dimensional. It's into the lovers of the sensual. Yeah, that was a staple in the clubs and in the party scene, if you remember that time, if you were still alive or if you were alive. Yeah, all right. Almost done here. Got a couple more. I might get in trouble for this one. I got to be careful. Be careful. Don't rap me out, SuperMex Nation.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want. Everything?
Everything. All right, that's enough. You should get it off that alone. Okay, this is that opening line, because, I mean, here's the crazy thing about that. That was jacked by popular culture. You know where that comes out of? That comes out of Full Metal Jacket, one of my favorite movies of all time. If you know what I'm talking about, if you know rap, some of you guys know rap but don't even know that. Full Metal Jacket. That's where that opening line comes out. Everything. Gotta know how it goes. All right, and yeah, I won't play anymore because that one's not exactly on the non-R rated, if you know what I mean. And yes, SuperMex does listen to those too. Just not in full view. All right. But if you're noticing the artist, that's quite literally what I'm trying to do to you tonight. Get the artist, because you're going to present an adequate picture of that time period and what grew out of that artistry that we have kind of left over with the candy rap of today. You like that line, huh? They're not all bad, just not as good. All right. This one was like, it barely made the cut. I was being nice. But it was a damn good club song, and it was a good party song at the place. And if you really did I'm going to do this, watch. If you really did a good house party, then this song had to be played. I got the production crew jumping around over here. Yo. I got to hear that first line. I get the first line. Rolling with the kid now. Rolling with the kid now. Play. I don't know what it is about this here, but it sure is. And that's enough for you, SuperMex Nation. Don't be evil now. Okay, but you notice some of these are like, they're not just good rap songs. They're not the beginning of what hip hop was. It's quite literally some of the basis and the base of what we have left over today. That right there, I mean, it seemed a little, it was more of the funky funny side. But damn if that wasn't a necessity in any house party or club that we went to when that time was going. I mean, and even now, I've been to some places where kids are still playing this mess. They've redoctored and done other things with it. They cut it up a little bit, but it's still the same tune. They don't even know where it originally came from. All right, here's one. There's two more I've got. They'll finish up a little bit on the harder, heavier side, but these were important. And sidebar here. One of these in particular, this one right now, this is actually my daughter's favorite rap song, probably of all time, and definitely going back to this time period. She's 17. That's my fault. I actually had her listen to some of the stuff. I should let her listen to some of the others. But this one, okay, Barbara Danko, my lady. This is cheap date night. Not asking for a whole lot. But of all these rap songs that we're listening to tonight, you're like, Mr. Martinez, I can't. This is the one where I'm asking you to look up the lyric for this particular song. And when you read the lyric, you're going to understand the dichotomy that is the different sides of America. I said dichotomy, might as well make it multi. But this is us. This is America. This is the way we are. This is the way we live throughout the country. It meets the need of every American in this country since we first got here, specifically if you grew up from not much, if you're not in the wealthier classes. This is my song. Actually, this is my daughter's song.
Yo, man, it's a lot of
Brothers out there flaking and perpetrating. They kick reality.
Man, you've been doing all this dope producing. You ain't had a chance to
Show them what time it is.
So what you want me to do?
You know what I want you to do.
I'm expressing with my full capabilities.
Now I'm living in correctional facilities, cause some don't agree with how I do this. I get straight and meditate like a Buddhist. Behavior my behavior is hereditary. My technique is very necessary. Blame it on Ice Cube, cause it's funky when you got a subject and a predicate. And it'll make you think to my stomach, like this one. That's enough for you. I got to learn myself. I got to cut myself. Okay, P. All right, so that one's a great, great lyric. And it's like, even if you don't like rap as a musical choice, get into the detail of what was originally written when this genre was created and spawned. And you're going to get a look into the mind of America dealing with some ugly stuff. I almost wish, and here's a sidebar, but I almost wish that Mexican America, we had something, if not entirely the same, similar, not entirely in Spanish, because not all of us are Mexican, like from Mexico, or Latin American, like speaking Spanish only. We are a different critter, a different group, and we don't have, to this point anyway, and maybe we will. Maybe we need to address that, right? And maybe that's what this show is about, is addressing these needs, addressing these necessities and voids so that we actually do something about it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I've got a young dude, 22 years old. He's at Harvard University, and he's actually thinking about these things right now, how we address that in Mexican America. Last one for you to go along with that. And when he put this out, I mean, it's like slammed you right in the gut. And again, it is an adequate look, and I'm gonna lean on some of my brother friends here, but an adequate look at what Black America, African America, was dealing with, and what they were saying, what they were telling each other, what they were dealing with at the time. Now, when this one, there's one other, but I won't play that one because it's got the N-word in it. But this one right here, this one was heavy for me.
Don't try to apprehend him.
Obviously, a lot of good backbeat. They said it anyway. I think all right, that's why we had Brother Miller here. We talked about it. You use the N-word within the context of music and art, and it becomes something quite literally other. We actually talked about that, if you remember, and how sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not. Yep. And I think it's safe to say that if you're not African American, you probably don't want to be using that word a whole lot. And I did that night when we talked about this, in particular, the subject of Black America and minorities, Mexican America, et cetera, that you got to be careful, you got to be mindful. And then the truth is, as you get older, you do understand a little bit more. And it's not just about what your want is or your understanding, but quite literally how you affect those around you and how you affect America around you. That's what it boils down to. So those are 10, and so I'll give them to you now. That 10, get the artists, because we're still giving those shirts out, right? 10 artists that, and there are others, but the 10 artists that for me anyway defined at least how I internalized and listened to what hip-hop and rap was at its inception. If I wanted to go further, I'd go to Sugar Gang and a couple others, right? But for me anyway, my time period, it was those groups that were a little bit after them. And it wasn't for me just about an East Coast and a West Coast rap thing. I listened to both. And I didn't have half the issue. I listened to both. Because to me, the poor man's plight is the same. And it cuts across gender, color, ethnicity, or border. It is the same. A working man with no capability of getting beyond their station is the same across the board. So what poor folk in the West Coast, on the West Coast we're dealing with, and poor folk on the East Coast we're dealing with, you can play with it all you want, but it still means the same thing. They were not getting what they needed to fully flesh out who they were capable of being, and you know where this goes. Now watch this. I'm going to run all that back from rap to what? Ladies and gentlemen, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's us. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if you are inadequately prepared to do, or if you are inadequately stopped, hindered, or halted from being able to reach those goals, those you, then this country isn't doing what it's supposed to do. Yep, that's what it is to me. Okay, and yes, life does imitate art. Art imitates life. You've heard the term. It's adequate because it's true. And I'm pointing those out to you because that was a significant period in my life. And it did matter to me that we had this subsection, this subculture, this subgenre spawned entirely from the inadequacies of what was not taking place in mainstream America. And now you know what the funny thing is? Gotta love reciprocity, correct? Gotta love karma. Like doing that. Everybody said they love karma until it's revisited upon them 1,000-fold. But check this out. From that time to now, it is mainstream, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. That's mainstream now. Hell, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a place that was not African American or that was not, you would think, rap culture. And I heard Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. He's a white guy, okay? Or I heard, and this one was common, by the way, House of Pain. I mean, those Irish rappers. I love those guys. Those are legit, right? But you hear this stuff and you're like, wait a minute. Okay, that's originally from that time period because, and there's my lesson for the night before we head off air. At that time, this wasn't listened to by all of America. Get to now, I'm going to say that it's still not listened to by all of America, but ladies and gentlemen, the percentages have increased markedly and way over what they used to be. More of mainstream of the current generation listens to everything as compared to us, including rap. My daughter is not African American. My daughter listens to rap. My daughter listens to country. My daughter listens to rock. My daughter listens to all the great females on the air right now. And she does listen to Express Yourself, NWA. I gave it away. There you go. But my point being is that I do have some hope for this current generation because they are cross-cultural. They are cross-generational. And even though, and I've said this a bunch of times, for those of you guys my age and older, we love to cry and complain about this current generation. But I'm going to give you a caveat. Maybe I roll over and croak when I walk out of this building tonight, but you'll remember this because it'll be the last thing I did on air. Be careful, because this generation may be pretty damn good before it's done. We don't know that because we're too busy crying about what they're not doing. We should be paying attention to what they are doing. That's my show for you tonight. As usual, you know the deal. Go out, live, go watch Avengers Endgame, go do something. Go spend some time at a barbecue, go hang out with some family, go out with some friends. And as always, as SuperMex Nation lets you know in advance, and maybe I have to go fly over America, get my cape on, but be safe, be careful, take care of your loved ones, take care of you, because I want to see you back on Monday. Make sure you share out tonight. Share out this good information I got. This is what SuperMex is watching, SuperMex is listening to. Open yourself up to a variety of different wants and styles. There's a show for tonight. Number love for you. SuperMex is out.